everybody. We are super excited for our first session in our four-part series of the See It to Be It Career Showcase. We are Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. We are joined by our partners over at Nashville Emerging Leaders. They have been able to put this together and bring us some really awesome guests that we get to hear from. We are joined by our Youth of the Year, Jehlin Hayes. He is going to be online with us today as our youth moderator. And yes, Jehlin, if you want to introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll let our panelists just give themselves a quick bio, and then we'll jump into our questions. Sounds good?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Jehlin Hayes. I am 18 years old. I'm a senior in high school. I attend Nashville Big Picture High School in Nashville, Tennessee. And I am Tennessee's Youth of the Year. I've been a club kid for 14 years, and I attend the Andrew Jackson Boys and Girls Club. And I'm so excited to be on this meeting and to have all of you all here. So what we'll do next is I'll start, well, anyone can basically pick up, raise your hand, and I'll call on you so that we can all get a brief summary of who you are and what you do, and anything else you'd like to share.
Angela, Carly, Zap, any of you want to go first?
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll go first. I'm Angela. So I actually moved to Nashville about a year ago. And basically what I do is I'm a superhuman networker who likes to give high growth opportunities to anyone who wants to learn and get into the tech industry. So I am the founder and CEO of Hackathons International. And I've been running that and Hackathons Australia since 2014. And I also work at Schneider Electric in the microgrid team. So I do love cooking, baking. I'm making hot cross buns this weekend for Easter. So hit me up if you want any recipes.
That is super cool.
I'll go next. Hey, I'm Haley Zapolsky, but you can call me Zap, just ZAP. I work at Nashville Software School. So we're in a higher education school, so you have to be a high school graduate, but as an alternative to college, we're more of a technology trade school, you could almost describe us as. So that means instead of going to school for 4 years and spending a lot of money, you can come to Nashville Software School, and our programs are 6 months and get started in technology. And we're a different type of school as well, where like college, let's say, when you graduate, you're done. You leave college, it's over. Our school, it's a bit different, where you actually don't leave Nashville Software School until you get the job. So it's all focused on what's kind of that outcome, what's the job you're going to get after. And my role is to make sure that our students are getting those jobs and talking to companies and interviewing and prep for that, but mostly just making sure they all get hired.
Sounds like I need to be coming to you this summer. Okay.
Well, I can go next.
Ms. Carly.
Thank you. Hi, guys. I'm Carly. I work at Twitter. I've been working in pretty much Fortune 500 companies like Twitter and Facebook for the last 6 years. I work on our operations side of the house, so not technically like coding or anything, but it's still a large part of tech, and it kind of keeps the world and the wheelhouse rolling. So definitely happy to kind of intro anybody into what this world looks like. Would love to talk about a little bit about my background too, because it's really interesting coming from an area where you are not at all involved in tech. I came from a nutrition background, jumping into tech. So super excited to be here and just chat through all things Twitter and how things are going. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you all so much. So, question. I have a lot of questions for you all. So, when you were younger, when you were younger, did you set out to do this, or did you ever think that you'll be doing what you're doing today? or what was your original plan? Because we always have a plan when we're younger, or even I have a plan now, and I'm pretty sure that somewhere along the line, something greater is going to come, or just things shift and happen. So when you were younger, what was your original plan, and how did you get here?
Yep. Start first. When I was younger, I had no idea what I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was travel. So that was my
Same.
number one goal in life. My parents had, when they were very young teenagers, had moved by themselves to Wales. So they had their higher education and college degree and first jobs there. So that was just my objective in life. I liked going fishing, so I wanted to be a fisherwoman. Obviously, that did not eventuate to what I'm doing now. But I think like there are some things that kind of like helped me understand what I wanted to do. Firstly, when I had to choose subjects at high school, I kind of just chose some broad subjects. I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, I think I did chemistry at some point and I got 14% in my test, so I decided science was not my best strength in life. And so I did like history and business. I did Italian. So like I think for me it was just like I don't know what I'm doing. And sometimes I think to myself, I don't know what I'm doing either, but I think it's been after building on experiences. So when I first went to my first hackathon after I finished my university degree, it allowed me to understand, like we're doing hackathons for American Express, for the biggest banks in Australia, for telecom communications, for fashion industry. So having those short snippets of weekend experiences where you can go in, deep dive, understand what it's like in a specific industry in a short period of time. It's not a lot of investment. That gave me a lot of perspective around what I wanted to do and where I wanted to head. And what I found out was I didn't want to specialize in an industry. I was great at just being that person who was like, I don't know anything, but I'm going to come in with an open mindset and really clarify, communicate, and develop ideas and solutions.
And Miss Angela, before we switch to the next person, since you are an entrepreneur and a founder of your organization and your company, what tips do you have for some of our older kids that are actually trying to become entrepreneurs and leaders in our city, state, country, and in the world?
I think like when you're young, always be on the lookout for your role models and your leaders. For me, I had a kind of a big tipping point at the start of my career where do I start my own startup or do I work for businesses? I decided to go in the corporate life because it's easier to learn from. You shouldn't reinvent the wheel. So there are processes and things that are set in place at the start. And I remember one of my friends, she worked in like an accelerator program, and she was like, it's really hard to get from startup back into corporate. And then so she told me, learn from the corporate folk. It's there's a lot of professional experience that you can translate back in the startup life. So I would recommend shadow someone, be part of, an organization, or just follow someone and just tap them on the shoulder and be like, hey, I want your experience, and for you to develop those leadership skills and be aware of what you need to achieve at a young age will help you and build your successes later on.
Thank you so much. So what I'm hearing is internships are very important. Internships are very important. Okay. The next person is Miss Zap.
Sure. Okay, I'm trying to remember the question. Hopefully I don't botch it. But, growing up, I grew up in a small town where everyone had small town jobs. They were police officers, firemen, nurses, librarians. So I definitely did not consider going into technology. And also, when you think about it, technology really is still such an emerging industry. I only got a cell phone when I was like a senior in high school, while now we all have cell phones and we do a lot more in our cell phones than we did when I was in high school. I promise you that. And now we're only doing more and more with technology at work, at school. The creation now of these VR headsets is like a whole new thing that people are exploring. So I never considered technology, and I didn't even study in college. But that's why I think it's such an exciting career opportunity for young people, is that the industry is really open to anyone. A lot of, like, let's say you go to college, there's no majors that's like, I'm going to go work in technology. There's a few, but most of them are not. I don't think any, Angela, or it sounds like Carly or I, none of us studied anything related to this industry. It's an industry where you learn on the job. You know, they're looking for people who want to work in technology, are interested in it, and might have some other skills that are tangential. But it's something where you can just kind of dive in without having prior experience. But yeah, that's sort of my journey into the industry.
Thank you for that. Miss Carly?
Sure. Yeah, so when I was younger, so I guess opposite of Zap, I'm from a large city. I'm from Los Angeles originally. I've been in Nashville for about 6 months only, so very new to Tennessee. But I wanted to be a vet. So like many children, want to work with animals, didn't really, that's what I wanted to do for a long time. Ended up studying nutrition in college, graduated, worked at a hospital, wasn't for me at all. So like kind of like what Zap and Angela are saying, is it's very much like you kind of fall into this work sometimes. It's not something that I think most people set out to do, but it's something that you find a passion in. And there's so many roles in technology that you can do, which is one thing that I think people get a little like stuck in, is thinking that I have to be an engineer or I have to be someone who like does some kind of coding. It's like there's so many roles in technology, especially in large like corporate companies. They need so much like backbone foundational pieces that working in operations, working in finance, working in like strategy, there's so many like ways you can go. So I think that a lot of people kind of fall into that role a bit and learn that they're passionate about it instead of like setting out to do it when they're young. But if you're young and you set out to do that, that's awesome too. I think that's like a great path for someone as well.
Well, thank you, ladies, for that. So our next question is, what do you like about your job? And what are the challenges that you have to face? We can actually, let's start from, well, I was going to say let's start from the bottom because on my screen it's, but Miss Carly, we're going to go back to you and then we're working way back up to Ms. Zap and then here's Angela.
Sure. So a little bit of background too that I wanted to provide. After I left nutrition, I started working at a startup company, and that was kind of like the first experience I had with technology. It was an e-commerce company. It was actually men's fashion in Los Angeles, and it was very startup. I was the first of 5 individuals that worked there. It's called the Black Tux. I'm not sure if you guys heard of it. They're in Nordstrom now, but I've helped build up this company from 5 people to I think they now have like 1,000 employees. But to me, like working at certain companies, the best thing about them is the people. Usually these large companies will hire great people. And so even now transitioning from a startup company to I went to Facebook to now at Twitter, it's literally the people that make me go to work every day and make me love my job and love what I do. And even when you have challenges in the role, I feel like it's the people that you work with that help support you and really help build around what you're kind of there for and what you're doing every day.
Thank you.
I can go next, Jehlin. So I'm not going to talk about my role because I do have this unique job, but I want to talk about the students and why so many of our students go into working in technology. And I think it's for a few reasons. I think number one, it's a career where they're constantly learning new things because there's constantly new technologies. It might, as a user, it's new apps we're downloading on our phones and it's very easy, but as the people who create that technology, it's a lot to keep up with. So it's people who love learning. Number two, the industry is really inclusive. And I say that in the sense that our students are quite the diverse mix. It's not an industry where you have to wear a suit and tux. You don't have to go from, come from a nice neighborhood. One of my good girlfriends, she has a mohawk and tattoos all over, and when she goes to interviews, they're like, yes, we love it. So it allows like a lot of freedom of expression. Number 3, I think, is the benefits. In COVID, a lot of technology roles went remote, and they will stay remote. We are seeing that the majority, about 80% of our students, are still currently working from home, and people love working from home. Sometimes they don't. Then I would say don't go into technology. Maybe you'll find something else, but that working from home. And then 4, finally, good money, y'all. Our starting salary, and this might not mean a ton to you, Jehlin, but $62,000 a year is the average starting salary coming out of my school. And, I think if you were making 62K, like, you'd be living pretty good. You could buy a new pair of sneakers. You'd be getting your mom good Mother's Day presents in May. Like, it'd be some good stuff. But I think those are kind of the top 4 reasons.
I think for me, what I like about my job is just like making a difference and shifting that change in mindset. So for us, like, we're always focusing on that diversity and inclusion aspect. So diversity in understanding like who are those people that we don't usually design for, and where are the groups and people that aren't really normally considered to have tech roles, like from someone who goes from, say, Carly, like nutrition into tech, or like, if you've been part of the like military, looking at those like connecting skills that you have. And so I think like there's a lot more opportunity, not just for the traditional kind of like stereotype that we see, but also now that it's accessible to everyone. And I really like Zap's kind of point of inclusiveness. When I first got into tech, it's very much like we call it an open source community. So everything's open source, everyone helps each other. You ask a question to someone, they talk to you. And so I think that level of accessibility to learning in that way is like exceptional. So I think like just seeing how the world is revolving and changing, to have more women in tech, to have more mothers in tech, to have more people from minorities in tech, from people with abilities and disabilities in tech. Those are the key things that we want to like, that I'm personally driving, and also our team's doing as well. So I think just having that accessibility is super key.
Thank you so much. So what I think y'all may have said this, but I want to ask it just in case. What does your typical day at your job look like? Miss Angela, you can go first.
Okay, so I've got a lot of things going on my plate right now. So like right now, like I'm literally making 12 job descriptions because we are expanding so quickly in the US and in Australia. It's just a bit nuts. So I'm actively recruiting and building leaders. So everyone that I'm training right now, everyone on my team to take on for more of a managerial kind of roles in that space. So I guess, when Carly says, hey, when you work for a startup, you got to do everything and be agile, that's exactly what we're doing. And then I guess like it's strategy, looking forward, what does the next 3, 5, 10 years look like? And sometimes it's hard to imagine, but you can always put together a plan and then see where that goes. Like there's always jobs that aren't available now, but they are the future of what we are. So if you think about even like user experience design, that was not a job 10 years ago. If you think about like even offer management or product management, like people kind of just got onto the concept of design thinking around 10 years ago. So like when you grow up, there's going to be jobs that we don't consider now. So you have the opportunity to create your own job, and that's something that you could do as well. So that's a short snippet of what I do, as well as working with clients like Amazon to help understand how they hire. So like I was on a call this morning with Amazon going like, what are those criterias? Do you need to look like, what does the code normally look like? What questions do we ask? Like, and it's more like for us, how we evaluate people is more well-rounded. So not just the technical aspects of, knowing how to code and all that kind of stuff and having GitHub repository, or having a college or university degree. It's kind of like, what are those interpersonal skills? How do you interact with other people? What is your personal mission in life? So putting that together is also something that we've done. So that's a day in a life of what I've done today.
You sound really, really, really busy. Ms. Zapp?
Sure. So my job is pretty simple. I really just talk to companies. I think what's important to understand, and what's a big belief of mine, is that in the future, all companies will be technology companies. And that sounds like this crazy idea, but kind of hear me out. So let's say Domino's Pizza. Nowadays, Domino's Pizza is just a lot of people making the pizza and delivering you that pizza. Well, I'll let you in on a little secret that Domino's is spending a lot of time, energy, money, and people on figuring out how not only are they going to have self-driving cars deliver that pizza, but they're also going to have pizza making machines within those cars to replace the people making them at the store. But that still requires people to work at Domino's. Like, they just don't have the same job anymore. Instead of making pizza, they're building the algorithms that drive around these self-driving cars and make sure that they're delivering your pizza, it's cooked well, they're taking your order, and they're able to make it. And it sounds like a crazy concept, but it's something we might see, in 10 years. So companies are really talking to me about how to hire folks in technology, but at this point, there's pretty much no company that isn't hiring people already. So like another example is like Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel is a restaurant. What do they need to hire technology talent for, But they're now looking at, all right, how can we analyze the data? How many people come into our store every day? What are they ordering? What should we add to the menu? What should we take off the menu? How can we have more of our customers pay on those little iPads that sit on the table? All Cracker Barrels have those nowadays, I guess, and that's important to them. But yeah, talking to companies, but the companies my point is there's so many who are interested in hiring people in this field.
Thank you. Ms. Carly?
Yeah, sure. So a typical day is really all over the place at Twitter. So there's a lot going on daily. But for me, I actually manage a global team. So my team sits in Dublin, Ireland, in Singapore, in Japan. There's 2 people here, one in Miami, one in Houston. So I am constantly checking in with everybody, making sure that, they're working on the projects that we're supposed to be working on, kind of consulting with them on any kind of data that they need. I'm also building out a brand new team at Twitter. So that takes a lot of just organizational skills, talking and kind of networking with other leaders within the Twitter organization. So I'm kind of in constant meetings all day, but it's being a people manager. It's really like kind of sitting in a lot of one-on-ones and talking with people about their goals and what they want to do in the future, and, how they see this one project helping with their growth career 6 months from now or a year from now, and kind of just seeing how our new teams can build out and support revenue around Twitter. So that's kind of my day-to-day. I work a lot of crazy hours. Some days I'm online at 11 p.m. working with Japan, and some days I'm up really early working with Dublin. So it's a full-time job over here.
Well, all 3 of you all sound like you have a pretty busy work day every day, and it sounds pretty fun, actually. So one last question for me. What advice do you have to give our members, and also including myself, now that I'm actually about to graduate here in less than a month? I'll start with Ms. Zapp. You can go first.
Okay, sure. Hot seat. Let me think. Because we're talking to young middle schoolers, so I'm not going to talk about thinking about college. That's where I was going to start. I think it is thinking about just trying things out. Try as many things out as you possibly can, because one day, it'll all come together in some funky way that you would have never thought from the beginning. So open as many doors as possible, and for technology is, you don't really need to start learning it when you're in middle school or high school necessarily. That's not something that even is an opportunity for people, but just exposing yourself to as many different career paths, talking to adults about what they do, talk to your parents' friends and understand that so you can kind of better figure out, all right, which of my parents' friends are happy and like their job and which don't, and choose wisely.
Thank you. Miss Angela?
Yeah, I always say to people, just network vigorously. Like, I remember when I was at school, I was like part of the netball, um, the group, sorry, that's a sporting group in Australia. Like, I did like a lot of volunteering activities. I was part of just like a lot of local, um, scouts. I don't know what it is here. I think it's called scouts or like Girl Guides. We call them that. And so like what the reason why I say this is because like when it comes to building a business, especially building it from scratch, you rely on your network. And so you need to be like knowing who's doing what and keeping a tab on that. So let me give you an example. So for Hackathons International, when we first started, one of my close friends from school, I've known him since I was probably like 12 years old, and he actually lost his job during COVID, and I was like, I'm from Hackathons Australia and then branching out to Hackathons International. I need help. And I knew that he was a smart cookie back at school. And I was like, why are you not hired? And so I was like, I'm taking you on, and you're actually going to help me build the fundamentals of what we need to do. And so, like, you just don't know where people will be. You don't know what their skills will be in the future. And it's always good to just keep connected with everyone. So, if you have a TikTok or Instagram or whatever you use as a social platform, just make sure you just follow, and just kind of comment occasionally. It doesn't hurt to. Just keep your connections. You don't have to know every single person in depth, but it's just to keep a tab on who can you trust, and who do you think you can work with later on or just be great colleagues or friends with. So that would be my advice.
Thank you. Miss Carly?
Yeah, so kind of a combination of those. For middle schoolers, definitely try out everything. If you're into one area of life, definitely give it a go and see what happens. If you go to college and you want to study data analytics, study that and see what happens. If you don't like it, that's okay. Change it, Second, also network. I feel like I've networked with so many people, even just a simple where are you from? Sometimes there's connections on people growing up in certain areas and certain neighborhoods, knowing certain people. It's super helpful. And then kind of for the students who are your age, 18 or about to go to college soon and, move on from school and into universities, when you're applying for jobs, a lot of roles will say 5+ years experience, 10+ years experience. Don't believe that. Apply anyways. Apply for them regardless. Even if you have 1 or 2 years experience. Right now I'm hiring for my team at Twitter. And our role says 5+ years experience. But if I met someone who has the passion and wants to learn and maybe has 1 year experience in it, I would happily hire them and be interested in talking to them. So I would say always try and apply for those roles, even if they seem a little bit over your head. It's worth a shot. Because I think there are managers and there are companies out there who want someone who's a good culture fit for the company and passionate about the role. So that's my advice.
Well, thank you all so much. I don't have any more questions. Does anyone else have any more questions that they would like to ask? Ms. Holly?
Yes, hi, everybody. Thank you all for taking your time to speak on this. We're so excited. I do have one question, and it's a little bit of a practical how-to regarding networking. I think that networking is often really intimidating for people. Could you give a couple, just an example of how you might write an email if you are age 12 to 18 to somebody just curious about their job? Because would you write back? What would you want to hear?
Yeah, so I think the key thing, just a couple of days ago, I actually had one of my friends reach out to me because she has the old who's looking to work in technology. And so basically, I think like the best way to approach this is saying, hi, my name is Holly. I'm really passionate about getting into the tech industry. Like maybe just saying why you are interested in technology, whether that be to shape what the future looks like with Domino's Pizza, or like if there's any organizations that inspire you, and just having those reasons and that why, start with a why. You know, that's a big foundation of how you should choose your career path. That will be a really helpful thing. And also, like, you know, if you're just clueless, just say, hey, I want to get into technology, I don't know where to start. So like if there's a question that you want us to answer, that would just help direct our minds as to how we approach talking to you. So I think that will be a key thing. I've had a lot of, when I first started getting into tech, I connected with everyone on a platform called LinkedIn, and it's where a lot of corporate organizations sit. It's basically like the Instagram of the corporate world. To say, hi, you know, Casey, I really look up to you because I've seen you at, because I watched this, you know, Boys and Girls Talk here, that really inspired me. You know, I'm looking forward to working in technology. Can you spare me, you know, 20 minutes so we can have a chat? So just saying, hey, you know, reaching out to someone, tell them why they've impacted on you and how, and then any questions from that.
I'll jump in here. If I was 12, there's a few ways that I would go about it. I would either talk to my parents, talk to my teachers, or talk to the leaders at Boys and Girls Club, or maybe your school counselor. I think a lot of school counselors can also fill this role in as well. And I think all schools nowadays, what's that, Jehlin, what's that program you take? Do you do U-Science at your school?
We do not. We
Okay,
do.
well, Metro
it's-
Nashville Public Schools uses U-Science, where you take all these tests, and at the end, it tells you about all these career journeys, and you can learn about them. I promise that it's a thing. But you can always kind of look at like what those are, and then talk to those kind of adult leaders in your community to say, hey, I might be interested in this. Do you know anyone I can talk to? And I think that they would be very willing to help. And I also think really taking advantage of, if your school ever has like a career day, or like your parents come and share a day, you know, don't just listen to those people, follow up with them. Get their phone number, shoot them a text message, you know, see if the teacher can connect you with them, if so you can dig a little bit deeper and so they know who you are too.
I'll lastly add in here too, because +1 to Angela and Zap, definitely. When I was like, I want to say like when I was like 16, 17, I used to reach out to a lot of like local volunteer organizations, whether that was like cleaning up parks or helping like build something or helping like the homeless population, like anywhere you can kind of find. There's so many people who kind of want to volunteer in their neighborhoods and help out, and you don't really know what each of those people do. And so it's a good opportunity to kind of talk to people in person, even when you're younger, you know, just asking them what they do or where they're from. It kind of opens up your eyes a little bit into different worlds, and you know, maybe you can get a contact here and there and why you're interested in working in whatever field that they're currently in.
Well, thank you all so much. Does anyone else have any questions? No. Okay. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. It meant a lot to me, and I know that it's going to mean a lot to all the members within Club Next when they watch this video. So thank you all so much, and I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your Thursday and also Easter weekend. Thank you so much.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day.
Bye.
Thank you all for being here, Jehlin.
Thank you all.
Thank you
so
much.
much. Thanks, Jehlin.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Jehlin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jehlin. You did a great job.
Yeah.